Is Hebrews, the book of Hebrews, and we're going to be taking a look this morning at chapter 5, verses 1 through 3. So let me read that. It says, "Every high priest taken from men is appointed in services to God for the people, to offer both gifts and sacrifices for sin. He is able to deal gently with those who are ignorant and going astray, since he himself is also subject to weakness. Because of this, he must make a sin offering for himself as well as for the people." How amazing is that? As we take a look at this next passage of Scripture. So let's look at the appointment and the reason for the high priest, and just kind of uh, start there. It says the writer goes back to the high priest described in the Bible, as opposed to one that would be a contemporary, if you will. High priest is appointed for service to God, to Yahweh. The word appointed or ordained in the Greek means to set or to put in place, to appoint. Okay, that's what it actually means. But it is made up of two root words, if you will. The first means to go between, and as in between two individuals. Now, the second root word means to stand or to be stationary. In other words, stand in place and uphold his job of what he's supposed to be doing. So in this, we get the idea of the high priest was to stand between two individuals. Okay, so it was to be a mediator, if you will, in the high priest as he dealt with people's sins. If you look at Deuteronomy chapter 5, verses 28 through 31, in verse 31, the word stand means to appoint or ordain, and it is used with the understanding of being between man and God and Yahweh. So something could be relayed between man and God and Yahweh. So the high priest was to stand, ordained to go between man and Yahweh and God for the purpose of relaying something. And of course, that we as we get into it, we're going to talk about that. But look where the high priest is taken from. He is to be taken from men. This is important for us to get. This will also qualify Messiah. If you look at Exodus 28:1, he came from the Israelites. If you look at Leviticus 21:10, it's taken from among his brothers. And if you look at Isaiah 7:14, the prophecy of Yeshua, Jesus, was born among his brothers. Okay, and if you look at Matthew chapter 3, verses 16 and 17, and Luke chapter 4, verse 18, which comes from Isaiah 61:1 and 2, and look at Isaiah 11:1 and 2, describes Messiah, high priest, and king. Mark this down. We'll be revisiting that a little bit later as we go through this book of Hebrews. Now, if you look at the one served, it is Yahweh, it's God. Okay, so they're serving him for the people. This word service is really interesting because in the Greek it means in front of, or in this case, in front of God. Okay, so this high priest was to go in front of God, and this had to be done. This had to do with men. Okay, we are able to see that in Leviticus 16, Aaron went before Yahweh, before God, for himself and the people. If you look at verses 6, 15, and of Leviticus 16. Okay, so Leviticus 16, verse 5, and also verse 15 is where you want to look. We see the purpose of standing between, in this case, between God and man. The purpose is to offer gifts and sin offerings for men to God, to Yahweh. This word offer in the Greek means to bear towards, or um, or to tender. Okay, so it is made up of two root words. The one is to carry or to bring, and the other is to forward or to carry something forward to God. Okay. Now, what is identified in this verse is the first is gifts, and the Greek means present or gift, but the second is sacrifice for sin. The word sacrifice in the Greek means to blow smoke, and it also means to kill or to slay, and in the Hebrew means to slaughter. Sin in the Greek and the Hebrew means to wander away from or violate God's law. Okay, so the sin is for violating God's law. In verse 2, we find the framework to minister from. He is able to deal gently, and the word is able, has power, whether by virtue or by one's own ability and resources or of a state of mind, or through favorable circumstances, or by permission of the law or custom. And the word gently, okay, means the Greek to be affected moderately or in due measure, to preserve moderation in the passions, especially anger or grief, of one who is not unduly disturbed by the errors, faults, sins of others, but bears them gently, and that's the key. Also, these going astray in the Greek is to go astray, wander, to roam. About now, remember the definition of sin is to violate or wander away from Yahweh or God's law. The ignorant, okay, in the Greek, is to be ignorant, to not know, to not understand, known, but the root word is to not exercise the mind, or don't study to show themselves approved. So if you look at Acts chapter 19, verses 1 through 7, the reason for this qualities is he is subject to weakness. Okay, and the word weakness is to be without strength and to be impotent, but to the word subject is interesting, is made up of two root words. The first is around, and the second is to lie. So put these two together, and it means to lie around, meaning to be so weak that we must lie there and don't do anything. Okay, so that's what it means, and it's talking about our weakness. Or the flesh is our weakness, and the sin nature is our weakness. Here is the idea: the high priest is able to stand between the people and God with intimate understanding of their needs due to their being strengthless from their own experiences. And if you look at Exodus 32, 1 through 4, the golden calf was there. If you look at Exodus 32, 11 and 31 through 32, verses 31 through 32, meaning interceding. If you look at 1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 7, is qualifications for overseers, for pastors, and so forth. If you look at Acts 20, 28, the shepherd of the flock is another qualification that we would need to look at. So it's in these three verses, starting in chapter 5, we actually learn a lot about what is being discussed and the qualifications, if you will, to some extent, to what would be laid on the high priest to do. So as we look at this, it's pretty amazing where this comes from. Okay, and he's actually, the writer's actually leading to the qualification of Messiah. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope it blessed you. Make sure that please to subscribe to this channel. Also, give us a thumbs up on the video, and leave us some comments. Also, if you have any questions, make sure you ask them so that we can dialogue with you and study with you. You have a great day.